Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video. For today's adventure, the rain is so heavy, I've had to actually bring this umbrella, which is a first for a long time on an adventure. But it's the only way to make something like this possible on such a heavy rainy day. I still want to come out and document some old abandoned history and just explore a bit of the wild landscape of Scotland. And for today's adventure, I've actually come to a place I've only documented it one time before, and since the recent storms when the River South Esk was high, it made me think, like, is this place even like available? I'm just seeing there's actually some event on. Today's video folks, we're actually here at the Maulesden area of Brechin. It's kind of on the outskirts of Brechin and it's an old Scottish estate. There is actually an event on with some mountain bikes today though folks, so we'll head down this secondary route. Yeah, we're in the wild landscape of Scotland, and Maulesden used to be a massive mansion house which got abandoned and then knocked down, and there is some like historical remains of that mansion still left within these wild lands. When I was making one of my YouTube short videos the other day, I remembered about this place down here, and it made me think, like, what conditions it's in. Since the river was so high, there's like a little folly building. It's a beautifully constructed sandstone little building with, it's kind of like a hexagon shape, and it gives you an idea of the architecture which at one time was on the Maulesden Mansion. But it would be so sad if in the recent storms, if the river has actually washed away that construction. And on today's adventure, we're away to head on in and see basically, and I'm just kind of heading down this between these trees. The umbrella's an absolute lifesaver today. But yeah, I'll update you once we get further along here folks. It's a mad wild Scottish scene out here today. So check this out folks, over at the left hand side here we've actually got the course and we've got the bikes ripping around it. It's like a off-road kind of mountain bike track they've got here, and I can see them pushing up the hill. The ground's so slippy and wet and muddy, it's crazy to see them even like attempting this. It's just crazy scenes out here today folks. Yeah, there's a big bunch of them coming now. They're probably needing somebody there at the sideline shouting them on, giving them some inspiration. So check this out, I've actually managed to navigate around the edge of the little mountain bike track for this one, and it seems to be some, must be like a winter mountain bike event they're having here down at Dalhousie Estate. And it's cool to see they're using the land for stuff like this. It's not just wasted forest land. You hear their brakes squeaking, it's so muddy when they come down that hill. Wow, my boy just about crashed. I should have been over. Anyway, we're wanting to go and have a look at this ancient historical wonder folks, so let's keep this adventure moving. I'm keeping the brolly down below the trees. It's incredible because the brolly's just kept me so dry on this adventure. Yeah, this little burn here at the side is properly in spate just now. And see an interesting thing at the far side there folks of the burn, it's actually had a wee dam, and potentially back in the day Maulesden House may have had like some sort of generator driven from the head of water at the top here. And that's the kind of history that I just love documenting on the channel. Yeah, check this landscape out folks, you can just see how wet, soaking everything is, and there's almost like a misty air in the sky. So we can see here from this piece of ground at the old foot of where the old Maulesden Mansion used to stand up on the hill here behind us. I've just noticed there's water on the lens folks, I'll give that a quick dry. But yeah, the old Maulesden Mansion used to stand on the hill here behind us, looking over this vast wild land, which at one time was actually landscaped, and it was a beautiful garden. And this little hut at the side was like a bit of a folly. A lot of Scottish estates used to have a folly back in the day where the people of the house would come down maybe on a Sunday and just have a relaxing time. And I believe this was actually a bit of a fishing folly, similar to the boathouse that we saw in the last video, but this one's not a boathouse, it's simply just a riverside spot that they could come and relax with a little fireplace to warm them up. Probably a lot of the comforts of a small house here. I'm amazed there's so many bikes coming around that track. They're just fleeing round and round. Like normally it's horses in this area, so it is cool to see mountain biking. I had no idea such an event was even on. Yeah, check this out folks. I love places like this for a wee video, exploring a bit of history and imagining the goings on at a place like this. This rear bit of the building there has been added on at a different time. It's built separate to the structure. It was either like a little bit of an outhouse, potentially it was like an outhouse so they could relieve themselves when they were so far from the main mansion, or it may have even been a little shed where they could store like sticks and coal and stuff for their little fireplace which is within this structure. Wow, look at that. Recently on the YouTube shorts when I was making it, that was when I remembered about this place. I love often going somewhere. If I had been in the summer the last time, I love coming at this time of year in the winter and seeing the difference. And the landscape around these places changes so much. Look how high the Wild River South Esk is here. Wow, I was looking out below there to see if it had been washed out. And I could see the water's been right up at the height of this. But I'm happy to see this structure looks like it may have actually survived, for sure, the worst of the weather. So let's document this incredible piece of history in here folks. I'm just getting shelter now from this roof. And it's incredible to see the detail of the woodwork which actually remains up there. Just think about that, like 1800s or whatever, a lot of this stuff was put in. These old buildings, they've stood the test of time, but it's sad to see nowadays, it's like the way the water's running through and dripping on everything, it causes such fast decay. And then look, there's been a wee fire or a wee stove in this area here. I was trying to get a shot looking up the chimney there, but I don't know how well that came out. This whole little building at one time has been lined with this tongue and groove wooden panelling. And some of my favourite little details of this place are the almost gothic looking style windows. I've managed to louse the brolly for this point in the video. It's the first time I've had a roof over my head, and I'm happy to say I'm still dry. And considering how far down through that wilderness I've come, it's just crazy. The brolly is such a handy thing when I'm out exploring. An interesting thing with this here folks, like look at the detail, the way they've put the tongue and groove around there to fit the curve of the wood, or the curve of the window I should say. And then they've got all these little sections in here that they've obviously screwed it to. I often love looking at the detail of the construction and how they did things back at this time. When you see the roof looking like this with the slates falling off and the rain coming through, like all these details will go missing pretty soon. In another 100 years or whatever, it'll just be the stones of the wall standing, if that. But it's crazy how close the river has come to washing it away, because the river's been right up at the height of the top of this wall here, but it's not managed to get in and wash away the wood. Another detail I love is just the old fire. Think about the conversations and things that went on in an old building like this. And then there's been shelves up here or cupboards, maybe with some fine whiskies or drinks or refreshments for the people that were sitting in here. Yeah, I can see over the years people's been like scoring in graffiti and stuff, but I like seeing the more ancient graffitis when I'm out and about. Look, here's a cool detail of the history folks. You can see the old mark from the mantelpiece here, but look at this. There's another mark here from a more ancient mantelpiece, and that would actually go along with what I was thinking. When I looked at this, I thought it looked like it had had a different fire put in at a certain time, because you can see the original back there with the sandstone, but then this has been put in at a different time, and that shows that this little folly here had been upgraded and changed as the years went on with like a better fire, or maybe like a better stove. And at that time they had put in the bigger mantelpiece here, and that could have even been the time that they lined it with the tongue and groove wood. Could have even been potentially like early 1900 time that was done. But you can see the way that obviously the wooden bits have been connected onto the wall the whole way over. And then underneath, that could be the original limestone render there. It is interesting just to see the way all this is built and constructed. The way the chimney is even made there with a massive chunk of what looks like sandstone. Look at that detail, there's been an older roof, look at that. See the mark on the side of the sandstone? That shows that that has actually been, that's a cool detail. See, this is why I love visiting these places. You notice things the next time you come that you never even saw the first time. So this is not even the original roof on this place. You see the old roof line leading up there on that stone. So it just goes to show, folks, you just always uncover like more layers of history. Think about the old door that was on here. Most of the door frame, sadly, at this side is missing and gone. This is the same way that the stones will even become missing and gone pretty soon. Like a lot of Scottish houses as well, you can see the rougher stone and less useful stone was used between the walls, and then it was finished with the finer stone on the outside. And that's just the kind of beauty in architecture that's gone from modern constructions. Modern little buildings are just thrown up. Nowadays you would maybe have a summer house that just looks like a garden shed with some extra windows in it. Whereas back in the day they had a beautiful stone construction like this with character, and it was built to last. Some of those modern little summer houses and places, they'll be rotten within 20 years. Some of that cheap like treated wood you get nowadays. Look at this detail as well. The woodwork on this place has been covered with like a red paint. And you can still see the remains of that ancient window frame there. It's had the little square panes of glass as well, because there's where the frames have been in. And this would have matched the architecture of the grand mansion at the top of the hill there, which is cool to theorise and think about the history of places like that. I can see those bikes are still flying round and round that track. It's just crazy, folks. I'm being super careful, but look at this here. This old railing is actually like broken off through here, but it's kind of just hidden in the overgrowth. I think last time I came I actually climbed out onto a stick and documented how most of the fence has been carried away by the river. And that's why I was so worried that more of this structure would have also been carried away by the river, because it's like so sad when history can just go missing, often because of nature, but sometimes even just because of the development of the land by humans. You just never know what building or what place will be next to go, and videos like this just keep it alive. The way this hexagon roof and stuff's built, it's like old woodwork and craftsmanship. The beams weren't just plain beams, they were actually detailed, shaped and carved. And then I can see the woodwork around here has also been painted with the red paint of the era. Yeah, this is so interesting. So I reckon they've probably upgraded this place and put the new finish on the inside with a new fire and a new roof. And then that's most likely when they built this bit on at the back. Maybe the owner of the house was getting older and he couldn't walk back up there to use the toilet facilities or whatever, so they've built that little outhouse on the back of it. There's probably a pipe or whatever for there going out into the river. Then these massive trees were all planted probably back at that time when the land was originally landscaped. Just look at the old front doorstep there under the leaves. It's almost like visiting a secret garden or a secret world out here. It's just been incredible, folks, and I just love sharing places like this with people all over the world. It's a small corner of Scotland, just hardly seen, hardly documented, but once again, we've done it here on the channel, folks. I'm going to have to get the brolly back up. Probably if there wasn't a big cycle event on, I would actually go around and record more of the wee details in this area, like, but it's just too difficult to navigate around. I obviously come with respect to what's going on the estate. I'm just here to document history that's available to see at whatever time I'm here. And yeah, sometimes you can walk to somewhere on an adventure, and once you get there you can't even get in, or you can't see what you're wanting to see. So to be able to document what we've seen today, folks, it's special and it's been good fun. Now I need to get this brolly up and we'll head on with the next part of this adventure. I was just noticing, folks, how that tree there is actually pushing hard against that corner of the roof. That's even the kind of thing that finishes off these buildings. If one day that tree or something blows over, it would smash the masonry and break the thing apart. Anyway, I'm going to head on with this adventure. I'm going to keep it moving because I'm actually wanting to go on another explore after this. Kind of like to record as many adventures in one weekend as I can. I'm always blown away by like the variation of these places that I can find. Obviously the weather today is so extreme that I'm kind of limited. There's a lot of flooded roads and more blocked roads and stuff from the floods, which has just been crazy this year in Scotland. This is like the little lade area leading down the side here, from what I reckon must have been a little generator or whatever at the top of the hill. And you can see how well constructed it is here. This is like a little stone bridge that I'm actually standing on, and it's like incredible detail. Incredible Scottish history, folks, and when you see stuff like that, it's just forgotten, it's just lost. There's only a handful of people see a thing like that, and it's probably the people who are just like walking their dogs around here, or maybe locals that know it's at this area. But it is fun just to see what's left. I'll say it too many times in the video. Even look at this, it's like the history of this little bench. Look how nature would take back over. Sometimes when I come on these adventures, it's like visiting a post-apocalyptic scene here of planet Earth. And this just looks like what every park would look like once nature had taken over for a few years and ravaged it. This is like a little man-made pond here, which is a later addition to this piece of land. This is something they had built for the equestrian side of things in this area. And then up on the hill here, I think I've got a picture of this house, like how it looked when it was originally on the land here, and I'll put that picture in the video here now if I can find it. So I'm now going to navigate around this crazy obstacle course, which is this mad like mountain bike. I think it's like a trials track. I think that's what you would call that style of mountain biking. It's almost like a mixture. It's no downhill mountain biking or anything like that, obviously. It's just a crazy mixture of uphill, downhill, crazy wet, boggy areas and muddy areas. But a course like that would change so drastically, whether the day was like sunny or rainy or weather depending. It would be a completely different track altogether. Like today, they can hardly get any grip and I can see them flying all over the place. It would be quite entertaining, but another thing that just gets super muddy as well. Up on this ridge here to the right hand side, that's where the mansion used to stand. So check it out, folks. Each little section of their mountain bike track here has got a different name. This is the Rocky Road. And look, it's sponsored by Mason Dew Coffee, which must be some Brechin coffee establishment, I believe. I hadn't actually heard of them before, so shout out Mason Dew Coffee. I'll maybe hit to try that. And yeah, I'll maybe hit to give Mason Dew Coffee a try. because I am a coffee drinker, folks. First thing in the morning, you can't beat a good coffee, especially if you're going on an adventure like this. It gives you that little boost of energy to conquer the wild terrains. And there's quite a serious roar coming off of this waterfall here. So I just spoke to that marshal there at the side of the track, and he was telling me it's the main Scottish like mountain bike. It's a proper like event. They do a series obviously over the whole year, racing at different tracks or whatever, and this race here today was actually postponed in October because of the severe weather, so they got it rescheduled till now. And then it just goes to show it's just about equally as extreme weather today, which is just unfortunate for them. If it had been last weekend, it would have been solid frost, frozen conditions, and that's the life in Scotland. It's like you often just have to go and do your hobby, like no matter what the weather is. And these guys are out here going full send on their mountain bikes, and shout out to them in these conditions. Like, I think if I was racing on some of those mountain bikes today, I would be on a boiler suit instead of one of those lycra suits, because if you fall on some of that stony terrain there, it's just crazy solid cold ground. Like, whoa, there's big swarms of midges here, folks. Anyway, I'm just about as far along as my car. What a cool wee adventure that's been. It's mad just to see some of that remaining history of Maulesden estate here. Obviously that's part of what would have been the mansion garden there, and a little folly, probably because when the weather was like this, the folk of the house enjoyed somewhere with a roof over their heads they could relax at the weekends. Like I say, it was most likely used for the fishing in the river South Esk there. See that field there where the main hub of the mountain bike events on? That's actually the same field that Angus shows held on. So if you want to know where that wee house is in relation to that, it's kind of down the hollow behind that field. And it is a fun little walk, even if you're walking dogs and stuff, as long as there's no like cycle events on. It's quite a leisurely area this, just to come for a stroll or a walk. When there's a wee bit of history to be seen like that in the middle of it, it makes the walk more interesting. Anyway, I'm just about back at my car now, folks, so I'm going to end this video here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next adventure, wherever I end up going.